Gentlemen, let's get right into it, because time is precious and most men waste it thinking they've got it all figured out. But the truth, most men are walking around sabotaging their own potential, especially when it comes to their personal lives. Not because they're stupid, but because they're blind to the small habits and decisions that quietly compound and crush them from the inside out. The first way men ruin their lives is by living without purpose. They wake up, go through the motions, punch the clock, binge some Netflix, and call it a day. No mission. No fire. They confuse being busy with being productive. And the worst part, they think it's normal. A man without a purpose is like a ship without a compass, just drifting, hoping he doesn't crash. But he always crashes, because a man needs a mission the way his lungs need oxygen. Second, they surround themselves with losers. You show me your 5 closest friends, I'll show you your future. If your circle is full of complainers, excuse makers, party animals, or men who gave up on their dreams, guess what? You're next. Iron sharpens iron. But most men keep plastic knives in their corner. They stay in toxic environments because it's comfortable, because it's familiar. Growth demands better company. The third killer? Numbing out. Booze, porn, weed, endless scrolling. These are modern-day tranquilizers for men who are running from discomfort. They don't deal with pain, they suppress it. They numb the guilt, the fear, the regret, and then wonder why they feel like half a man. What they don't realize is that the pain they're running from is the very path to their breakthrough. Real men face it, weak men flee from it. Here's the fourth, lying to themselves. They say they'll start the business, get in shape, fix their marriage tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year. They act like they've got infinite time. Number 5, chasing comfort instead of greatness. Comfort is the enemy. It's disguised as success, but it's a trap. The moment you start settling, you start dying. Most men spend their lives trying to make things easier, but greatness is forged in pressure, not pillows. That six-pack, that bank account, that freedom, it's all built on discipline, sacrifice, and the grind. And most men are allergic to all 3. Sixth, giving away their power. They blame the government, the economy, their ex, their parents, their boss. They act like life is happening to them instead of because of them. And the second you shift blame, you surrender control. Powerless men complain, powerful men conquer. You want to change your life? Own everything, even the things that weren't your fault. That's how leaders operate. Last, but maybe the most dangerous, ignoring their health. Physical, mental, emotional. A man who doesn't take care of his body is a man who's building his own prison. Weak men break under pressure, strong men rise through it. Your energy, your confidence, your discipline, it all starts with how you treat your body, but most men would rather crush beers than crush weights. And that's the price they pay. Quietly, slowly, painfully. So ask yourself, how many of these land with you? 1, 3, all 7? Because awareness is the first punch. What you do next is what separates men from boys. Let's not pretend this is something you haven't felt before. That internal ache, the quiet voice in the back of your mind whispering, you're meant for more, shows up at 2 a.m. when you're staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell you got so far from who you wanted to be. You can bury it under distractions, you can fake smiles and go through the motions, but that voice doesn't go away. It gets louder, angrier, more impatient. That's the truth trying to break through the layers of lies you've built around your life. And let me be real with you. Most men ignore that voice until life brings them to their knees. Until the divorce papers hit the table, until the doctor gives them a diagnosis that sounds like a death sentence, until the business fails, the job disappears, or the kid looks at them like they're a stranger. That's when reality shows up with a sledgehammer, because life doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about your actions. About the standards you've tolerated, the habits you've repeated, the truth you've avoided. There's a silent epidemic going around, men dying with their potential still in them. Good men, talented men, men who could have led, built, transformed, who could change generations, but instead they chose comfort, they chose excuses, they chose mediocrity. And it didn't happen overnight, it happened in tiny moments, the silence instead of owning their truth. That's how it starts, death by 1,000 cuts. Most men think they're making harmless choices, but harmless doesn't mean consequence-free. Every skipped workout, every broken promise, every time they tell themselves just one more time, it stacks. And what's worse, they become numb to it. They stop leading. And leadership isn't just about having a title or owning a business. Leadership is about showing up for your life with clarity, fire, and responsibility. You lead your body, your mind, your relationships, your finances. You're either leading or you're following, and most men have become followers in their own damn lives, led by distractions, addictions, laziness, and fear. Fear, let's talk about that. Because most men are terrified, not of death, not of failure. They're terrified of being exposed, of facing the gap between who they are and who they know they could be. They're scared of stepping into responsibility because responsibility demands sacrifice. It demands work. It demands change. So instead, they hide behind bravado, sarcasm, ego, pretending they're fine, pretending it's all under control, but it's not. And deep down, they know it. You know it. You feel the pressure building every day you settle for less. The anxiety that creeps in when you lie to yourself. The low-level rage that flares up when you see other men winning and you tell yourself they're lucky or they had it easier. But the truth is, they just stopped bullshitting themselves. They took ownership. They did the hard things. You want to reclaim your life? It starts with brutal honesty. Not motivational fluff, not some cheesy morning routine you'll quit in a week. Real change starts when you admit you've been getting in your own way, that you've been playing small, that you've allowed weakness to take the wheel. That's not easy. It hurts, but that pain, that's power, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You either rise and do something about it or you choose to live a lie. And that's hell for a man who knows he was built for more. Let's talk about self-respect. Most men crave it, but few have earned it. And here's the hard pill. Self-respect doesn't come from books, quotes, or someone patting you on the back. It comes from keeping your word to yourself. That's it. It's built in the dark when nobody's watching. When you say, I'm going to do this, and you actually do it. That's how you build self-trust. That's how you walk with your chest up and your chin high, not because you're faking confidence, but because you know you're the kind of man who follows through. But what do most guys do? They break promises to themselves, like it's no big deal. I'll start on Monday. I'll quit next month. I'll fix it later. Every time you do that, you teach yourself that your word means nothing. And when a man doesn't believe in his own word, he walks through life like a ghost. Dead behind the eyes, weak handshake, no fire. And that fire is what separates the average from the unstoppable. But to find that fire, you have to go to war with your laziness, your doubt, your patterns. You have to be willing to face everything you've avoided, the uncomfortable conversations, the childhood wounds, the bad habits, the identity you've built around survival instead of strength. Because if you don't confront it, it owns you. And every man who avoids that work becomes a slave to his weakness. He becomes reactive, bitter, jealous. He tears others down because he can't build himself up. This isn't about perfection, it's about progression. It's about waking up and deciding that the man you've been is no longer acceptable, that the standard you've lived by is getting raised, non-negotiable, because your wife, your kids, your team, your future, they don't need a half-awake man going through the motions. They need a force, a man who doesn't just talk, but acts, who doesn't just hope, but hunts. But to become that man, you've got to embrace pain. Growth hurts. Discipline hurts. Accountability hurts. But you know what else hurts? Regret. And most men will experience far more regret than discipline, because discipline is temporary, but regret is permanent. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up at 50 realizing you lived a life that was good enough for everyone else, but never fulfilled you. That's the price of silence, of playing it safe, of never betting on yourself. And let me be clear, this isn't about building muscle, making millions, or flexing online. It's about becoming the kind of man who is dangerous to weakness, who's impossible to break, who lives by a code, not emotions, who gets up when he's tired, shows up when it's inconvenient, and leads when everyone else is lost. That kind of man earns freedom, mental freedom, financial freedom, emotional freedom. And freedom isn't something the world gives you, it's something you take through grit, through suffering, through relentless execution of the boring basics, day in, day out. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, it's reps. Wake up early, move your body, eat clean, lead your family, crush your work, study every day, push every edge. You stack those wins until the old you doesn't even recognize the man in the mirror anymore. You know what's wild? Most men think it's too late. They think because they've wasted years, they're disqualified from greatness. But that's a lie. The clock doesn't disqualify you, your decisions do. You could spend the next 10 years stuck in the same patterns, or you could spend the next 10 months becoming the most powerful version of yourself. It's not about the time you've lost. It's about what you do next. Because if you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. And that fight isn't just about survival, it's about domination. Dominate your mindset, dominate your discipline, dominate your lane. Stop playing defense with life. Stop waiting for permission, approval, or the perfect moment. The men who win are the ones who decide to win, who make it non-negotiable. And they don't need anyone to believe in them. They believe in themselves because they've done the damn work. So here's the raw truth. Every day you're either building your legacy or destroying it. There is no neutral. Every action, every thought, every habit, it either sharpens you or softens you, and you've got a choice to make. Do you keep drifting, keep avoiding, keep lying to yourself, or do you rise, take the wheel, and go all in? The world doesn't need more passive men. It needs warriors, leaders, builders, men who are forged in discomfort and driven by mission. And that kind of man, he doesn't wait for the storm to pass. He is the storm. You think life is supposed to hand you something because you've been through pain, because you've suffered, because your story is hard? That's not how it works. Life owes you nothing. Pain isn't a trophy, it's a test. And most men fail because they sit inside that pain and make it their identity. They replay the betrayal, the failure, the rejection over and over again, like it gives them. But here's the reality. No one's coming to fix it for you. No one's coming to rescue you. You've got to be the one who pulls yourself out of the mud. You've got to be the one who takes the pain and turns it into power. That's what real men do. They don't run from scars. They use them as fuel. Most men today are soft, not because they're incapable of strength, but because they've been lied to about what strength really is. They think it's about being loud, being aggressive, flexing in the gym, or barking orders. But strength is built in solitude. Strength is built when you do the right thing, especially when no one's watching. Strength is silent, consistent, and unshakable. The loudest guy in the room is usually the weakest one. The man who leads without needing recognition, that's who you follow. That's who you become. We live in a world that celebrates comfort and punishes discomfort. That tells you to chase ease, convenience, and pleasure. But the more you feed comfort, the weaker you get. You stop stretching, you stop pursuing, you stop growing. And what most men don't understand is that without challenge, there is no meaning. Resistance is the path. You lift heavy things to remind yourself who you are, to remind yourself that pressure doesn't break you, it builds you. But then there's a trap of isolation. So many men suffer in silence. They think asking for help is weakness, that admitting they're struggling somehow makes them less of a man. So they carry the weight alone. They bury it with food, with alcohol, with porn, with distraction. They wear the mask. They smile in front of people and break down when no one's around. But you weren't designed to carry it all alone. Every man needs a tribe, not friends who tell you what you want to hear, but brothers who call you out, hold you to a higher standard, and don't let you sink. But to find those men, you have to become one. You attract what you are. Weak men attract other weak men because they validate each other's excuses. Strong men threaten mediocrity. If you want to level up, you need to surround yourself with men who challenge you, who force you to grow, who make you feel uncomfortable, because that's how you rise. Look around. Look at what's happening. There's a war on masculinity, a war on discipline, a war on truth, and most men are asleep at the wheel. They've been convinced that aggression is bad, that drive is toxic, that ambition is dangerous. But what's dangerous is a generation of passive, addicted, aimless men. Men who no longer lead their families, who can't look their children in the eye because deep down, they know they've given up. You were not put here to be passive. You were not put here to be quiet. You were not put here to chase comfort until you die. You were put here to build, to protect, to lead. That means being dangerous, not violent, not reckless, but dangerous in the best sense. Capable, disciplined, unbreakable. A man who can fight but chooses peace. A man who could dominate but leads with restraint. That's real strength. That's real power. You want to transform your life? Then stop making emotional decisions. Emotions lie. Discipline tells the truth. Motivation fades, discipline stays. You think the top 1% of men wake up excited every day? No. They wake up tired, sore, stressed, but they show up anyway because they've made a decision. And decisions breed identity, identity breeds habits, habits breed results. Most men flip that order. They wait for results to feel motivated. But results only come after the reps, after the pain, after the process. And that process never ends. There is no arrival, no finish line. You think you hit 6 figures, get in shape, fix your relationship, and suddenly life gets easier? No, the weight just gets heavier, but you get stronger. That's the difference. Life doesn't get easier. You just become a man who can handle more. And that's what makes you dangerous. That's what gives you freedom. But here's what holds most men back. Pride. The ego that whispers, I've got this, even when everything's falling apart. The pride that refuses to listen, to learn, to admit you don't know everything. That pride is a prison. It keeps you from evolving, from hearing truth, from making the changes that matter. Humility is your weapon, not weakness. Weapon. Because when you're humble, you're always learning, you're always adapting. And a man who adapts cannot be defeated. You've got to kill the old you every day. The lazy you, the scared you, the undisciplined you. You have to bury him and build someone better. Because if you don't, he'll drag you back to the life you're trying to escape. He'll whisper the same lies. Take it easy. You've earned a break. You'll get back on track tomorrow. That voice is the enemy. You don't negotiate with it. You don't argue with it. You silence it with action. Every rep, every early morning, every painful decision, it's a knife in that version of you that keeps trying to survive. Look at the men you admire, the ones who walk into a room and shift the energy, the ones who don't need to talk loud to command respect. They didn't get there by chance. They bled for it. They worked when no one clapped. They made sacrifices most men wouldn't dare. They faced demons most men ignore. And they still wake up every day knowing the work is never done. So don't talk to me about potential. Potential means nothing if you don't execute. Don't talk to me about what you could do. Talk to me about what you're doing. Don't tell me your plans. Show me your habits. Show me your calendar. There's a reason most men never break through. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's the inability to suffer with purpose. The moment things get hard, they run, they sabotage, they blame, and then they wonder why nothing changes. But the men who win, they suffer on purpose. They suffer with vision, with fire. They suffer to shed weakness, to earn confidence, to forge resilience. The world is watching you, even if it doesn't say it out loud. Your kids are watching, your partner is watching, your team is watching, and more importantly, you're watching. Every time you cut corners, avoid responsibility, or stay comfortable, you see it, you feel it, and you can't lie to the man in the mirror. That's where real accountability starts. Not with external pressure, but with internal standards. Raise them, sharpen them, defend them like your life depends on it, because it does. Not your existence, but your life. The life that's bold, that's fulfilling, that's rich with meaning and fire. That life is waiting, but it won't wait forever. Time is moving whether you move or not, and one day you'll wake up and either be proud of the man you became or haunted by the man you refused to. It's on you. It always has been. So here it is. Cut through all the noise, all the stories, all the justifications. You either take full ownership of your life or you let it rot in your hands. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your partner, not your boss, not God. You were given breath, strength, and time. What you do with it is your answer to the world. Every day you're either building a legacy or digging a grave for your potential. You can't keep playing small and expect to feel fulfilled. You can't chase comfort and call yourself a man of purpose. The world doesn't need more spectators. It needs men who rise, men who bleed for something bigger than themselves, men who are dangerous to weakness and lethal to excuses. So stand up, draw the line, burn the fallback plan. Decide that from this moment on, your standard is greatness. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, but especially when it's hard, because that's the moment the real ones are made. And the world remembers those men forever.